All right, welcome everybody around the world. Welcome to all my subscribers. I have a very short time span, so I'm going to try to get this message out as quick as possible. If I have time to make a longer form video later today or tomorrow, I'll try to do that as well. There's a lot of things I want to cover here in a short span of time, so bear with me. I don't have a script to work off of. But one thing I wanted to say first is, I've been doing my teachings on YouTube across various different channels of my own for about 10 years now. And I've warned people about the things I'm going to mention here during this whole 10-year period. A lot of people don't find my videos. A lot of people who do find them don't regard what I have to say. But ironically, in the field of UFOlogy and the people who believe in aliens and everything, a lot of people, as of recent, and I mean in the last month or so especially, a lot of people have been starting to go on this notion uh, that humans are cattle for certain ETs, and that these ETs are our creators. They put us here and they use us for something. And I think a lot of this more recent, spark in belief is due to the whistleblower. I believe his name was Matthew Brown. He came out with Jeremy Corbell's Immaculate Constellation stuff. Matthew Brown said in one of whatever his name is, he said in the interview that, where he alluded to that humans are cattle. A lot of other people are making videos on this now, hyping it up, a lot of fear mongering and nonsense based on nothing but pure speculation and imagination. But ironically, all of this whole topic traces back to all the things that I've been teaching for 10 years, the things that you can find in my systematic theology and in my End Days Proof book. I cover all these things there and in all my hundreds of videos that I've made over the years. But as I've said many times before, and all of this ET scenario here proves the Bible 100%. But as I've said a million times before, the Bible makes it clear that when God created the universe, as is detailed in Genesis, where he stretched out the heavens, expanded out the heavens, what we perceive to have been caused by the Big Bang. But when God created the universe, he put life in a lot of different places. These other celestial beings are called the host of heaven. They're referred to as the angels, messengers, i.e., when they visit the earth and interact with earth. But God put life on many other worlds. The Bible has very well told us the detail about extraterrestrial life in the heavens and its somewhat infrequent interaction with the earth, whether good or bad interaction. The Bible and First Enoch detail on how some angels broke rules and interfered with mankind in ways that they were not supposed to. Whereas the angels in general, the celestial beings, are supposed to monitor the earth and help take care of it and govern it and police it. But some of these beings, very powerful ones, went astray and taught mankind forbidden sciences, arts, interbred with mankind. So um, there's there's a lot of misinformation out there right now on the internet. But ironically, it just makes me kind of laugh to myself because I warned everybody about these things for like 10 years, like I said, and people didn't want to listen. And as of recent, there's so many people jumping on this bandwagon, but with misinformation. Um, if the rapture is approaching soon, if the end of days are approaching soon, the great judgment day, which I believe, I hope and believe that they are. I give the evidence for it in my book here, the End Days Proof book. But if it does take place in the next few years, it's very important that we understand certain truths first. Um, when people are hyping up this fear mongering idea that humans were created on this earth by aliens and that they are really the gods of all the ancient cultures, these people are also saying that they were misperceived as the God of the Bible. What I mean by that is all these people, as of recent especially, are trying to say that the Bible and Judaism and Christianity were based on misperceptions of aliens, and that it's all just aliens. Ironically, the Bible talks about this. First Enoch talks about this. So it always traces back to the Bible, and in truth, it just edifies the wisdom of the Bible to start with. Um, so, like I said, when God created the universe and created other worlds and put life on these other worlds, these beings are very powerful. They're even more powerful than humans are. The Bible again says this as well. A lot of them look human. The Bible says this as well. Some of them can change their appearance. The Bible says this as well. The Bible also tells us that God ordered some of these beings to help create the Genesis. So, as I've taught and I cover in my books and my videos, the fact is that even biblically, God said that there were angels who were present at the creation, and they very well could have partaken in the creation. And what this means is that there very well could be some extraterrestrials who did participate in the creation. This would align up with other cultures, myths such as Sumerian and the like. But none of this takes away from God. None of this takes away from the Bible. It really only edifies it because the Bible told us these things. Um, whether beings created us or not, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't disprove God. And this is what I want people to understand. And, if the rapture in the end of days is approaching soon, you're going to see a lot of people fail at judgment because they're going to be ascribing creator status to aliens, and they're going to be denying God what is God's. So the truth of the matter is as I've taught, it's very possible, even biblically, that certain beings did help participate in our creation of the world, or even of us. It does say the Benai Elohim, the sons of God, which are celestial beings, that they declared at Adam's creation, "Let us make man in our image." So it's entirely possible, even biblically, that human-looking extraterrestrials, or human extraterrestrials, just humans from another world, helped create us, and we were made to look like them. But all of this would have come down from a mandate from God. That's the biblical perspective. So when God created Jesus, for example, the firstborn of all heavenly creation, Jesus had his heavenly human form, and this was the firstborn. This was made in the image of God. So while God doesn't have an image, he created an image to give his firstborn, who would be, like a ruler of a sense over the heavens, and who would participate in the genesis of many different worlds. This was the heavenly Jesus. He probably didn't have the name Jesus up in the heavens, but nonetheless, that's not important. And when the command is given out to go create life on worlds, in our case, for example, the extraterrestrials who did it very well could have looked entirely human. And therefore, when it says, "Let us make man in our image," you can understand better. So, what people have to understand is that there's a number of alleged declassified or just available documents from the government or military of America. I've read a lot of them. Some of them, whether they're real documents or not, they've been analyzed, and it's suggested that they are actually true. Like real documents. I mean, sorry. In some of these documents, it says things that could be very, very deceiving to people. And even with everything that I've known, going back decades now in my life, even having published my systematic theology and everything, when you read those documents, or when you listen to these other so-called whistleblowers, or if you listen to random people on YouTube, for example, who are spinning out all these wild theories all the time, all these conspiracies, it's very easy for anybody, even the elect people who follow the Bible, right, who consider themselves very religious and devoted to God and everything, such as myself, it's very easy for any of us to be deceived and brainwashed by these stories. Okay, so for example, in one of the documents, I can't say 100% whether the document's real. It might be real. But even if the document's real, it doesn't mean that what the alien told the military is true, right? And also, I just want to point out one of these documents in particular, the interview with this EBE, and this is from an actual, alleged actual military document, not the silly Lacerda files, which is a bunch of bogus baloney. And it's not these other silly sources. Going by the documents say that the extraterrestrials were quite human looking, and these weren't the Greys. Like, a lot of people are trying to say that the Greys created us. People conflate and amalgamate concepts together in ufology, and they don't know what they're talking about. There are very human-looking extraterrestrials that look entirely human, different types. Okay, they have different organ structures inside, but they look completely human on the outside. Very little bodily differences externally on the outside. There's some that look very human, like the so-called Palladian or Nordic types. But you also have other beings that kind of look like what we would loosely say a mix between human and gray. And these beings here, whatever they are truly called in the extraterrestrial sense, they've been documented in these alleged military documents. Now, these beings don't look as human as the other human-looking extraterrestrials, but these ones here, they have these biological cloned robots, so to speak, that they created to serve them, which are what society calls the Greys. But let me let the cat out. The boys got interrupted, don't you, Pete? And I'm just clarifying this here because it's important, because people conflate things. So when we say the Greys, what do you really mean by that? Well, people have just applied this buzz term Greys to anything basically that's got big eyes, so to speak. But the true Greys, if you want to get into wordplay, are the short little 3-4 foot ones with the large eyes. These are biological cloned robots, so to speak. They're biological robots. They're living beings, creatures. They probably have souls. I don't know. I've never looked inside of one. But these are just workers, like worker bees, like drone bees, like worker ants. The Greys, the real Greys, the ones who made them, aren't really Greys, arguably. It's all wordplay because they're somewhat human looking. They might only be about 5 feet tall, but they're quite human looking. These are the beings, the quasi-human looking ones, who from a distance could be mistaken for people, but as you get closer to them, you realize, okay, they're not humans. These beings here are the ones in the documents that allege to have, this strong interaction with the earth. They've been here for thousands of years, monitoring us and watched our civilizations grow. These beings allege that they actually don't claim in the documents to have created us. They don't claim in the documents to use us like cattle. But what they do say is that they've basically been here monitoring the earth and, monitoring our development. And in truth, what we see from the documents is nothing nefarious on their behalf. It's more that they're just here to observe and monitor. It may be somewhere along the line they might try to intercede and help us along further, maybe technologically or even spiritually or whatever. But one of the things said in the documents is that these quasi-human looking ETs claimed that in the ancient times, people mistook them for demons or gods. Now, all of these statements that are allegedly made by these quasi-human looking ETs, none of them are actually blatant lies. They fit in with the Bible narrative. It's people, it's individuals and conspiracy theorists who are claiming that they created us. And these people have no evidence or proof for this whatsoever. It's just wild speculation. To hear one or two whistleblowers like whatever his name is, Matthew Brown, say that they view us as cattle, but they're not stopping to look at this from the proper perspective. The Bible tells us that there's angels who fell from their domain and they're bound to this earth. These are the fallen angels. The fallen angels are aliens. They're the bad ones. They got sent down here to this earth. Now, as in recent years especially, there's been more evidence to show that these beings, good or bad, possess extreme technology and even sometimes biological ability where they can read our minds, telepathy. They could influence us to do things, cause us to forget things. Long story short, this is what the Bible's always told us about demons. Now, demons aren't spiritual beings. There might be some spiritual demons, don't get me wrong, but demons, again, is another buzz term for, blanket term that people use and apply to too many things. Something that's evil, let's put it that way, right? A dark or an evil or a bad being, the Bible says that these beings have the ability to manipulate our thoughts and to cause us to do or think things that we wouldn't do necessarily by ourselves. They might incline us to go do bad things. This is what the Bible tells us Satan and the dark side essentially does. Okay? Now, when you have the whistleblower saying that the ETs use humans like cattle, these whistleblowers haven't given any definitive explanation in full, but using us like cattle fits perfectly into what the Bible has warned us already. I've heard from other sources, credible sources, that the extraterrestrials, again, there's many different types of extraterrestrials. This isn't applying this one thing to all of them. But because the extraterrestrials possess such intense biological and technological ability, they do have the ability to influence our thoughts. So it's, oh, and sorry, the somewhat credible information that I've, sorry, somebody keeps calling my phone. Sorry, I just keep getting distracted. I got to get this video finished. Right. My point is when it says that when people claim that we're used like cattle, this doesn't mean that we are created here to be like animals to be used for food or for other silly purposes. We weren't created here to be used for genetic, hybridization with this other alien race. The Bible did tell us that the fallen ones did try to hybridize with us. They did, and this is probably continuing to this day. But people are getting so many things conflated here. When it said, if it is true that we are regarded as cattle, what it simply realistically is that the negative beings who have biological or technological ability to do such, what they would do is they would view us as vessels in which they could either occupy, whether literally or through influence. That's all it is. This again just fits 100% in with the biblical narrative. This is not something new. It's not something different. There's no direct evidence to say that aliens made us, and especially that they made us to be cattle or food for them. This is all hype and fear mongering. The Dulce mythos and a lot of these other whistleblowers have spun falsehoods and conspiracy theories, and none of it's really founded. So at the end of the day, what we have is a biblical reality where there's good and bad beings. The good ones are in charge. They're put in charge by God to monitor and to police the earth and to keep the bad ones in check. They are the majority and the bad ones are a minority. The bad ones are being constrained and restrained from doing what they would probably do in full. Okay, and the beings, there's many different documents, but the two documents in particular talk about these quasi-human looking beings and their interaction with the earth. The statements in these documents align with the biblical narrative. They don't provide any evidence for a nefarious conspiracy narrative whatsoever. Okay, so people are getting brainwashed, and this is the danger here. People are getting brainwashed, and it's going to cause religious people to lose their faith. When I was reading these documents recently, it even subconsciously attacked my faith, even though I should know better, because for over 20 years I've been studying on this and I know the overall biblical truth on this. But it's a very powerful deception. And it's going to be coming from the negative beings, the fallen angels, who are trying to convince people that they are God and they are our creators and they are the gods of the ancient cultures, including Judaism and Christianity. But all of this is a lie. Like the Bible says, do not worship the host of the heavens, the hosts of the stars. Do not worship them. They did not create the heavens. So they could claim all they want that they put life on this earth. Maybe they did have a hand in it in some way, the good or the bad ones. Who knows? But even if they did, it doesn't matter. They are not the ones who created the heavens. They didn't create themselves. Who created them? Who created their world that they developed on? It was God. God is in charge of the cosmos, not these aliens. God calls the shots, not the aliens. Okay, so people have to be very careful what they believe. Don't get caught up in this fear mongering and hype. In UFOlogy now, and even from like the Congress hearings, we're hearing things come out from key whistleblowers that there's an interdimensional element to a lot of these visitations. Even from higher ups, we're starting to see evidence that some of these things could be demonic in nature, or they feel spiritual because it's interdimensional in nature. And all of this, ironically, is just pointing back to what I've always said and everything that I just pointed out in this video. So for me, all these latest revelations and bandwagon bandwagons that people are jumping on, they don't change the biblical narrative. They don't change what I think. But I've fallen victim to these thought attacks, or these subconscious thoughts where it's like, well, what if God was a lie? What if the Bible was a lie? All of these things are coming from the dark side to fool people. The end of days is approaching. The rapture will be approaching along with, and Revelation makes it clear that at some point along this process, we're going to have beings that look like frogs, who are spirits of demons, going out to fool even the most elect with signs and wonders. Okay, and this is exactly what we see happening now. Whilst I don't think that verse is truly being fulfilled at the moment, it is in part. Okay, undeniably, in part, it is. So I've got to get going, but I'm warning everybody again, please be very careful. Don't get deceived. Don't get fooled by these conspiracies. God is real. God is in charge. And all of this stuff was talked about in the Bible and in First Enoch a long time ago. It's nothing new. Okay, so don't be deceived. The vast majority of the extraterrestrials out there are good. They don't interact with us because there's laws of non-interference. They're only here to monitor, observe, and to help protect. Okay, the bad ones are the ones who are the few. There might still be a good number of them, but I'm saying compared to the majority, they are the minority. And they only have a certain amount of power, and they're being kept in check by God and the other good beings. So God is in control. That's the important thing. And this is why even when the bad ones, allegedly abduct people, they always have to return them. Okay, and no overt harm is ever done to the people. But I've got to go or I'm going to be late. I'll try to do a longer version of the video, I guess, another time. But anyways, take care, folks, and God bless.